The greatest what-ifs in U.S. history. What if JFK survived? Henry George wins New York City mayor in 1886. Al Gore wins the U.S. presidential election in 2000. And finally, what if Americans acknowledged that they would have lost the Revolutionary War without foreign aid? Specifically from this country, France. Yeah, I gotta admit, there's a lot of people that don't talk about that part. It wasn't like America stood alone. No, not at all. We had France, Spain, and the Dutch Republic for help. Greatest thing about it too, they didn't even want anything back. They just wanted to say F you to Great Britain. But you know what? I kind of get it. Yes, but this foreign aid was extremely crucial for us to get our independence. We probably wouldn't be here without that. Or at the very least, we probably would have just remained a British colony. I love how 3 out of 4 of these just have to do with U.S. politics, though. Out of all the greatest what-ifs in U.S. history, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more than just this. What if Russia actually did sell Alaska to Liechtenstein, not us? But yes, in 2000, Al Gore almost became president, but Florida was like, nah. There's been plenty of speculation on what would happen if JFK did survive this parade in Dallas. Finally, Henry George was an American political economist, social philosopher, and journalist. He famously argued that a single tax on land values would create a more productive and just society. This sign that says everybody works but the vacant lot, I paid $3,600 for this lot and will hold till I get $6,000. The profit is unearned increment made possible by the presence of this community and enterprise of its people. Ooh, that's deep. JFK could have lived if he just locked the frick in. I was reading how a staggering factor was the entry of Spain into the war when they laid siege in Gibraltar for 2 years. Even though they didn't succeed, it forced the British to constantly divert fleets. Honestly, when it came to the Revolutionary War, literally every bit against Britain helped. They were just such a dominant force back then. Here's another good what if. What if the Yellowstone supervolcano erupted a week before the Manhattan Project was finished? Or what if Abraham Lincoln hadn't been assassinated? Oh, I like this one. What if Huey Long was elected president? Hilter in hell be like, I'm gonna prank Hirohito when he gets executed. Here he is waiting 1945. Oh, this is gonna be hilarious. Here he is waiting 1946. Here he is waiting 1988. Holy crap, how did Hirohito not get executed? That's probably what the funny mustache man was saying. Because definitely if they caught him alive, they would have absolutely executed that guy. Japan got the free pass though on their leader. It's just funny because even the third major Axis leader, he didn't make it till 1946 either. Even Tojo, the prime minister of World War II Japan, he didn't make it to the 1950s. We definitely executed him. No, the Americans thought it was best to keep the Japanese Emperor Hirohito around. In fact, one of his only punishments was just taking this picture right next to Douglas MacArthur. Basically, the Americans thought occupying the Japanese was going to be very difficult if they decided to execute their monarch, which definitely worked out in the long run since, while their major focus was then the Soviets, the Cold War was beginning, they needed a Japanese ally, which they definitely had. This would have been funny if it was both Hilter and Mussolini waiting to prank Hirohito in hell. You'd be like, why did that guy get off the hook? Emperor of Japan survived all the way till 1989 and died of natural causes. In fact, Hirohito's son is still alive, although he did abdicate power. This is the current Emperor of Japan, and he's actually the only remaining monarch and head of state of the world who holds the title of Emperor. 1945, Hirohito surrenders to the Allies. 1946, the Allies choose to keep him around to keep stability. 1988, 1 year to Hirohito's death. There was and still is a whole debate of how involved he was in the war. Imagine if Hilter was allowed to stay on as constitutional Führer. Be ruled by the British. Brits leave country and get partitioned. Lots of people die and displaced in war. Decades later, conflict is still ongoing. More wars, attacks, territorial disputes. B. India and Pakistan. Pick unrelated. Oh, they had me in the first half, not gonna lie. Yeah, this is actually the story of India and Pakistan. Both Israel and India and Pakistan were ruled by the British, then got partitioned, and obviously it's still causing a ton of chaos even to this day. That's why we don't allow the Brits to draw lines on the map anymore. This does explain a little bit though why India might have such a favorable view of Israel, but Pakistan clearly does not. Man, if I had $1 every time there was a nation that started with the letter I versus a nation that started with the letter P, I'd have $2. Which isn't a lot, but it is weird how similar they are. As a European born in the 90s, it was wild to learn that you used to have a West Pakistan and East Pakistan for several years. For real, it's insane that they actually thought this was going to work. Of course they were going to lose this and it was going to become Bangladesh. Oh yeah, bye Portugal too. Yeah, talk about the ultimate rage bait post. I guess you could include Ireland in there too. Also weird because they start with the letter I. If two fish are fighting in a river, an Englishman must have passed by. Crazy the British get slandered for not dividing countries into ethno-states and for dividing them into ethno-states. Literally can't win. They were just always doing it wrong. Oh, we did leave out Cyprus. You could also include them too. How many times are they gonna do this more? Are you winning, my sons? I won, Dad. Big bro, just wait. Next time, I'll be the one who wins. Now cut to 20 years later. We won, my sons. Oh, they're they're no longer here. The very sad story of the Vietnam War, a lot of people love to compare the Viet Cong and their like liberation war was very similar to the way America fought their own Revolutionary War. They were just fighting for their own sovereignty. But yes, there were many Vietnamese that lost their life during this whole thing, whether you were from the north or the south. And Vietnam just lost a lot of people in general. Some, you know, Vietnamese refugees obviously came to the US. And just look at how long this was fought for. I mean, it was honestly fought for longer than just 1955. This was first against the French. By the 70s, it was just against the Americans. But don't forget, even before that, they were fighting the Japanese in World War II. They fought the Chinese even. It's crazy. It's also kind of funny to think because now America and Vietnam actually have a pretty good relationship, which maybe shouldn't be surprising at all since Ho Chi Minh, kind of the de facto leader of North Vietnam, he initially really liked the US. He imagined being like them during the early days of his war to kick out the French. It's really kind of sad just how dumb the Cold War unfortunately made the world. People forget the South Vietnam part of the equation a lot. For the most part, it really was brother against brother war, just like how America's Civil War was also called like brother against brother. I mean, it tends to be how civil wars go. This meme was brought to us because it was just recently the 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. You like jokes? Here are the 3 most famous from the Soviet Union. Why do you only glance at the front covers and not buy anything? I'm looking for an obituary. Well, that's your problem. The obituaries are in the back, but the one I'm looking for will be on the front. Is it the death of the Soviet Union? What are you running from, Mr. Fox? There's new orders importing all camels to Siberia. But you're a fox, not a camel. Yeah, but try proving that to the NKVD that you're not a camel. That's definitely some classic Russian humor, I think. Why are you reading a Hebrew learning book? You thinking of immigrating to Israel or something? I'm an old man whose time is nearing, and I heard Hebrew is the language of heaven. And what if you don't go to heaven? I'll be fine. I already speak Russian. Man, the Russians love to make fun of themselves, huh? I'm sure jokes like these extend beyond just the Soviet Union, though. You can find this probably a lot in Eastern Europe, too. You gotta love that dry sense of humor. I don't even need to read this top comment. I already know what the punchline is. Basically, because these borders changed so much that, yeah, he pretty much stayed and he never left the city. This is always the joke I hear about a man being born in Austria-Hungary and basically going through and living in 7 different countries, although he never left the city itself. Borders changed a lot. 2 men standing in line for ration of vodka. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna oof stall myself. Time goes by. Man 1 returns. So did you oof him? No. Line to oof stalling's longer than a line for vodka. I was recently learning about how vodka and alcohol was a big reason the Russian leaders were able to control their populace. If you keep all your people like just drunk and sad, they don't want to rise up and kill you. Makes sense. 2 prisoners talking in the gulag. Prison 1, so why are you here? Prisoner 2, I haven't done anything, but they sentenced me to 10 years hard labor. Prison 1, don't try to lie to me. Innocent people only get 5 years. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the KGB officers became the best taxi drivers because they already knew where you were going. Yeah, they had a whole lot of surveillance going on. Man, there's so many Soviet Union jokes, it actually doesn't even stop. Didn't know there were a bunch of comedians over there. Sees a guy performing straight up sorcery, then decides to betray him. Was Judas an idiot? Even on the chance that he wasn't the son of God, you're still messing with some high-level wizard. Why would you do that? What was he possibly thinking? I played way too many video games out here. I know never to mess with high-level wizards. You're gonna get turned into a frog or something. Bro was turning water into wine. Why would you ever betray him? Walking on water and stuff? Those are fun party tricks. Also, can you back away from Jesus' face? Why is he so close? Jesus walks into a bar with his followers. The bartender says, "Your usual wine, Lord?" Jesus turns to his followers and winks, says, "No thanks, just 13 waters, please." That's how you get it for free. Jesus was out here just trying to get some cash, probably. 30 pieces of silver is 30 pieces of silver. Wow. Bruh, what was bruh thinking? Big ol' thanks to my patrons over at Patreon. Who out here calling bro a history expert? Tambre, Drew's Argentinian Trust Fund, NordTyrol, Nolan, Miglu the Goat, LuxembourgLover, KirinoIsBestGirl, KingBearHaze, Fredrik Tibblin, DOOCHBAGGINS, Pavlik, Carmel Saida, AlexandertheTerrible. If you'd like your name here, check out that link in the description down below to patreon.com.